Insolent peasants! Prepare to die. They dare not strike back to the death. I never hold back. Strike quickly, strike deftly.
What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to play Fiora. Now, if you're looking for a champion that can absolutely destroy tanks and most other champions in the game, then Fiora is probably the top laner you are looking for. She is extremely good in 1 vs 1s, 1 vs 2s, due to her absolutely insane scaling with lots of true damage and maximum health damage. So most of the damage comes from that passive, so if you look at the enemy champion, there will be that arrow, and in order to proc that arrow, you need to hit them from the right direction. So in this case, the arrow is on the top, so you need to be on the top and damage them. When you do so, you are going to heal a bit, you're going to deal true damage based on their maximum health, and you also get a little bit of bonus moon speed. Your Q is this mobility spell that will help you out in order to proc the passive vital marks. And when you hit a target, you get some of the cooldown refunded. And this is another ability that procs on hit, and it can be used pretty fast as well if you're standing right next to a target, as you could see when I hit the minion. But the main purpose of this ability, it is to give you access to that mobility that will allow you to proc vitals around the enemy champion. So now the vital is on the bottom. Now if the vital is in a very bad spot, guys, what you can do in order to reset the vital mark is that you go away from the enemy champion. Because if you get to a certain distance away from the enemy champion, the vital mark is going to reset when you're getting closer again. And then we have the W, which is an ability that blocks all damage, not tower damage, but everything else. And if it manages to block out CC as well, and you hit an enemy champion with that skill shot, it is going to stun them. But this ability has a very high cooldown, but it is also one of the things that makes Fiora extremely annoying to play against. Because if you time this well, it can turn around the entire fight. I got the stuff out of the Darius, and the Kindred is going in, I don't know why. So we are just getting that one kill and still end up dying. So that kind of sucks for us, but we got a kill. Means that we will scale up faster. And then you have that E. So the first part of your E, it is an auto attack reset. And you know what I say about auto attack resets is that when an ability can do that, you always want to get one auto attack in and then use that ability to reset it with. That's very important, and you get some bonus attack speed when you use that E. And the first part of that E is going to slow the opponent. And then the second part will be a guaranteed crit. So that's a lot of damage and also a little bit of CC you can get from that ability. Now the slow part can make it easier for you to maneuver around the enemy champion in order to get the vital procs. But the entire goal on this champion is that you play around the vital, because that is true damage. Every single time you proc a vital on an enemy champion, that is true damage. It is not only true damage, it is true damage based on maximum health. And this will scale up the more AD you get. That's why you don't want to build her as a bruiser, you want to build her, as a carry, where the main items are giving you AD. So you always play around the vitals, and your W is something you want to be careful not to waste, just because of that insane cooldown it has, especially during the earlier stages. Now that is also the skill part of this champion, is you being able to time that W perfectly. So when you're about to get CC'd, for example, when I W Darius hook previously, you saw that it stunned him. If you're able to time your W well, sometimes you cannot predict it, you just have to press it and hope, because if the opponent has a insanely fast ability and they're staying in melee range, it can be very hard to predict when that ceasing ability is coming out. or time it rather, so you have to try to predict it as best as you can. And the only way you get better at doing that is by playing a lot and playing against that specific champion a lot, because then you start learning the patterns, like when they'll use which ability. And then it can become easier for you to play around your W. And the ultimate on Fiora, so it's going to instantly reveal all the vitals, and you manage to kill the enemy champion after proccing a vital. It is going to leave up this zone that will heal you and allies. But this is what you use to go all in with, because it instantly makes all of the vitals appear. Your goal during a fight is to proc those vitals as fast as possible so that zone can come up. That zone actually gives you a massive healing. Not only for you, but also for your allies, so the faster you can proc it, the better it is during a fight. On top of that, when you put a point into your ultimate, it also passively increases the bonus movement speed you get every single time you proc a vital. But remember your Q, guys, it also works on the towers, same thing for your E. So this is a champion that can destroy towers insanely fast. When you're pushing down for the enemy tower, always use your Q and your E as well. So auto attack Q, auto attack immediately E, reset, and so on. This is also something you do when you're trading, because it will maximize the damage that you can deal. But this is a scaling champion, but you can still pick up kills early on in the game, especially if you have Ignite. So if you're playing lower ranks, like lower ranked games, or you are a new player, I can recommend that you play with Ignite, because people don't know how to abuse your weaknesses properly yet. So the Ignite, it allows you to have a lot better kill pressure. It is also part of the reason that we got this kill on the Darius, and you can see when that ultimate procced, it gave us that massive healing zone, which can allow you to stay in the fight for longer if the target is not dead after proccing all of the remaining vitals. But the champion is pretty difficult to play, or not to play but to master. It's pretty simple to pick up. The difficult thing about this champion is being able to proc all vitals every single time you use your ultimate. The issue here is that if you use the ultimate at a bad spot, for example if the enemy champion is close to a wall, because the vital that is facing the wall, if they're standing right next to it, you will not be able to proc that vital. And that means you will not get that ultimate healing zone, so that could potentially lose you the fight. Therefore you have to become really good at, proccing the vitals insanely fast, but also knowing when you can go for that ultimate. Also, before proccing your ultimate, guys, get that vital first, because your ultimate immediately reveals all vitals, right? So get that free vital first and then immediately use your ultimate for maximum DPS. Those sound like small things, but they will actually end up making a massive difference, especially later on when your vitals deal insane damage. And when you can get one extra vital hit, that is going to destroy almost every single champion in the game. And also one of the best picks right now. She's getting nerfed, but she's still going to be great, guys, so don't worry about that. She's always going to be good in solo queue. It's a champion that has insane carry potential, and it's very great in 1 vs 2s because it's a champion that with a lots of outplay potential. Getting that kill on the Darius, easy peasy. Remember, when you use your Q, always make sure that it hits the target, because if it does not, you do not get that percentage cooldown refund, and then you lose all of your mobility. Pay attention to how I'm pushing down the towers. I'm using the auto attack reset on the E, and I'm also abusing that Q. When you have the Sheen, guys, Since your Q also procs that on hit, it is going to proc that Sheen damage as well to every single target that you're damaging. That's why you typically want that Sheen early on when you can afford it. And now we have enough gold for the first mythic item, or the first big item rather, which is the mythic item, and that is the Divine Sunderer. Get lots of nice Sheen procs, and it's even better against tankier targets if needed. If you're playing against very squishy teams, you can also go for the Triforce. But this item makes you a bit tanky as well, so it is pretty much a bruiser item, but Fiora does not have the best mythic items. But this one is pretty good and it does give you a pretty big spike. And you can see it is a champion that will snowball pretty hard. If you end up giving her kills early on, it's going to be very difficult to get back into the game for the opponent. But in order for this to happen, you had to know how to play your champion and also know how to play this champion against other champions. Lots of things you have to learn when it comes to scaling champions like the Fiora, because they will be weaker than the other champions early game in a lot of cases. But that extra damage we get from the Divine Sunderer does make a huge difference, especially if you're playing against a tank. He's already a tank slayer and this just makes it way better. Then you can just start invading the enemy jungle. You know, trying to be as annoying as possible. And if you looked at when I used that ultimate, I proc that vital first before using my ultimate. Because that gives you one extra free vital. And that's actually pretty huge, especially if you are fighting a tank. Because that is true damage based on their maximum health. So that one extra vital can actually make a big difference. Unfortunately, we did not end up getting the kill because he got out. Kinda sucks. But at the same time, we're also able to apply a lot of pressure. And what this champion lacks, she has mobility. She actually has pretty good mobility as long as she can keep hit targets with a Q. But she probably has the worst wave clear. Or one of the worst wave clear in the game. And you know when that happens on a top laner or a bruiser, then you get Tiamat. Especially if it is a scaling fighter in the top lane like Fiora. Get the Tiamat and the Ravenous Hydra, which gives you insane wave clear, so you actually become a really good wave clear champion afterwards. But on top of that, you also get lots of AD. And as I said, the vital proc, every single time you proc a vital, that true damage you're dealing is going to increase based on the AD you have. So the more AD, the better. The only thing you had to watch out for is if you are building pure AD without any tanky stats. Yes, you'll probably one-shot a couple champions and destroy tanks a lot faster, but you'll also be a lot squishier. So when people are ganking up on you and you accidentally miss your W, you get one-shot pretty fast. That's why you're mainly focused on AD items, but you still want to make sure that you have a little bit of tankiness, so you can actually survive the fights. Actually, I think I died because I did not have mana, or I messed up a combo, I'm not sure, but we give away a massive shutdown, but at the same time, we are snowballing this pretty hard. You know, when the towers goes down, you still want to stick to the side lanes, because this champion has a S+ tier as a split pusher, but in team fighting she's a lot worse. She can do well in team fights, but she's not a team fighting champion. And that's completely normal when you have a really OP split pushing. So spend most of your time applying pressure as a split pusher. Mainly in the side lanes, you try to force people to come defend against you. You know, if you can drag 2 or 3 opponents towards you, then you can let your allies do the objective on the other side of the map, and that is how you pressure as a split pusher. And if you're fed as Fiora, then it's going to make things even easier. Also remember your W. It's not only used to as anti-CC. First of all, you can use it with your Q. So while you're dashing, you can use your W. But even more importantly, if you're playing against champions with lots of attack speed, or champion where their main damage source coming from their auto attacks, so AD carriers, Jax, Tryndamere and so on, even though if they don't have hard CC where you can abuse the W stun, just hit them with a W, like the skill shot, because it is going to reduce their attack speed by a ton. You know what happens when you reduce the attack speed on auto attack reliant champions? They lose pretty much all the damage. So this can actually allow you to win fights against something like a late game Tryndamere, who's also another, god of the late game, damage wise. Or you can make an AD carry extremely useless just by tagging them with a W. That's a bit unfortunate with that Q dash, but it's a pretty short dashing range, so you have to make sure that you're super close to the target. You want to dash your walls and stuff, then make sure that you are as close as possible before pressing it. Otherwise it's going to fail and it's going to put your Q on a full cooldown. Now you got another core item, the Raven's Hydra, as I said, giving you all the stats that you need after your first mythic item. Wave clear, so you can actually be a good split pusher. So you can push waves fast and also take down towers faster. You also get some sustain, of course, insane amount of AD for that vital passive to just scale up. Next up is going to be that new item, which is also pretty strong and is also getting buffed. Apparently, I'm not quite sure, but if it is, then it's even better. And as I said on Fiora, you mainly want to go for these AD items, guys, so that's why that item is great. And also stuff like the Guardian Angel, Death Stance, and so on. These are the items that you want to go for. You can also build defensively, but remember she scales insanely well off of pure AD. So if you can, always try to go for items that gives you at least a mix, of defensive stats and AD as well. Our teammates are doing great, so that's of course nice when that happens. You cannot always expect that to happen, actually. Your teammates will probably run it down most of the time you play. When that happens, it's pretty limited what you can do as a top laner, so you're probably gonna lose some of your games. But always keep in mind that you're playing a scaling champion, so the goal for you is always to be able to farm up. Focus on having decent CS per minute if you cannot get kills, because you're just playing for that 2 or 3 item power spike, and when that happens, you start carrying the game. So your only goal is to be able to farm up, even if you are behind. Try to get farm wherever you can. The lanes, the jungle, enemy champions, if they overextend, wait to punish for mistakes. And then you try to slowly get back into the game. But that was how to play Fiora. Really hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching and see y'all next time.